folks, and welcome. Today I'm going to drive something very different. In fact, it's one of the coolest cars I know. It's right there. It's the Honda NSX, probably one of the most underrated supercars around, and I'm joined by Minutia Detailing over in South London, and he's given me the keys to have a go. However, this NSX is quite special. In fact, I think it's one of the most high mileage NSXs around. This one has covered 170,000 miles and it's running on original clutch and flywheel. And do you know what? I have driven this car before over a year ago, but I'm going to drive it again because this is just a super underrated car. Finished in yellow, it's an NA2 car. So it's the facelift. It's probably one of the last great cars, barring an NSXR, in which case Mike actually owns, and you might actually see a video of that one day. But here's the car. He's also detailing a few other bits and pieces. Over there is Lusso Prestige, which is also a car sales specialist specialising in supercars, Subaru P1, and over there is a 997 GT4 RS Gen 2. But we're going to concentrate on this NA2 Honda NSX with 170,000 miles. So I'm joined here by the owner of the NSX, who is on his phone because he's always busy. His name is Mike. Hey. Hello there, Mike. How's it going?
Hi, Sid.
Right, tell me about this NSX. How long have you had it for?
I've had it for 5 years now.
Right, 5 years.
And it was actually, when it came up for sale, the second owner, who was actually officially on the logbook as the first owner, because Jensen Button actually owned it first. He wasn't down on the logbook, so he had it as a company car when he raced for Honda. It was an ex-Formula 1 driver's car, so I knew straight away that it was Jensen Button's car because of being an NSX fan. I just clocked it straight away, called up the owner, went down there with my dad and made a purchase.
Literally?
Yeah, and I dailied it for I dailied it for 4 years, used it every day, mostly to Swindon and back, from London to Swindon, and it's never ever let me down. Yeah, I've had it parked up for the last year, but I plan to use it again now because I have missed it. But yeah, it still drives absolutely perfect.
And you've not had any sort of, no major
issues at all?
None at all?
It's still running on the original clutch as well. It probably could do with one soon, but it's still going strong at the moment. Yeah, plan to take it to Le Mans this year, I think. And yeah, just enjoy it.
And you drive it hard, don't you? I mean, you take it on...
driven pretty hard, yeah.
On track days as well?
On a few track days, yeah. It's been on a few drift days. One of my mates drifted it the other night. Won't mention any names, but yeah, no, it's good.
No, and this is obviously not your only NSX, is it?
Yeah, I've got the NSXR as well, which is an NA2. Very rare model in the UK. I think there's about 3 here. You know, it's not a car for everyone. You have to know a little bit about the history, and obviously, you know, people always look up to Ferrari and Porsche and Lamborghini, but for me this is just a real feat of engineering, amazing engineering. And
I completely agree with you. So there is a video a while back when actually I first met you, like this is what, 2 years ago, and we did do a video on this NSX. Obviously,
you weren't allowed to drift it back then.
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't allowed to drift it. Well, you barely knew me. It's the first time you met me. You went, yeah, do you want to have a go, Sid? But you didn't let me have a go back in the summer in an NSXR.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Night,
yeah,
wasn't it?
We won't share that video though.
Oh my god! No, we won't share that at all because, yeah, no, but that was a bit outrageous. But look, however, the philosophy of this video is because normally supercars are quite brittle, they're quite, they need looking after, they're a little bit, they need to be in kept garages, but this hasn't really spent its life in a garage.
Most of the underside is aluminium as well as the body, so it can't actually rust. Aluminium can corrode, but I do every single year protect it underneath. Make sure the underseal's topped up and give it a real clean, get all the salt from underneath, and actually underneath looks like it could pass for a 10,000 mile car still.
Yeah, no,
all the aluminium is absolutely shining still, there's no corrosion underneath at all. The paintwork's 90% original. I think it's had the front end blown in at one stage, but from the factory it was a 23 stage paint process, so amazing paint from the factory. Again, there's tiny bits of corrosion where stone chips have occurred and water's got underneath, but I don't plan to respray it at all. Maybe one day I'll do a full restoration, but for now I'll just keep enjoying it.
For now it's just your daily. So what we're going to do now is you're going to let me have a go in it.
Yeah.
Sort of swallowing, scared moment. But anyway, no, and what we're going to do is actually see how this car drives after what? I mean, it's a 2002, so it's 16 years old.
Yep.
With 170,000
Yeah,
miles.
it's had no engine rebuilds, no gearbox rebuilds or anything. So
this is going to be an interesting
totally
one. No mechanical sympathy.
The suspension and bushes are all completely original as well, so nothing has been changed on this vehicle.
Mental. Well, let's go for a drive. Okay, NSX. You bad passenger?
No, I'm not. I'm quite confident. I think I'm a good passenger.
You're a good passenger. You've been in the car with me a few times. So.
Not being scared. I don't think I've ever been scared in the car, apart from a 1200 horsepower GTR.
Really?
Yeah.
How's that?
An experience.
An experience. So what are the service intervals like on these?
So, going by the Honda manual, it says every 10,000 miles, but I just do an oil change myself every 3,000 miles.
Okay. So
I mean, I don't plan to sell the car, so I just literally decided I'll just service it myself. I do use my mate James works at Northampton Motorsport, who I use for sort of more intricate stuff, and at least once a year, so I can get proper service history as well. If I do more than 3,000 miles, which is highly likely because I do quite a few miles in it.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fair enough. So obviously regular oil changes, which is something that you should do. But
Yeah.
other than that, no horror stories. There's no issues with the NSX.
The only thing that's ever gone wrong with it is the coolant bottle actually exploded once at high RPMs, but that's actually common because they just sort of deteriorate over the years. And I mean, it was 15 years old, so I just got a new one from Honda, which was about 200 quid, and changed it, and then been gold ever since.
And that's it, literally it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the amazing thing about the NSX, because as I said earlier, it's not a car that a lot of people appreciate. It's such a dark horse, isn't it?
I mean, a lot of people, they don't really know the history of the NSX and why it was made and how it was made, and they're just the first, they comment saying, oh, we copied Ferrari. Well, actually, the design of the NSX was way before Ferrari, It was even the first sort of car to have an all aluminium chassis, the first car to have drive-by-wire as well, which Ferrari now use. So it was never trying to be a Ferrari, but people's perception of it is that it was, but it never was that. It's a total separate car altogether. They weren't copying anyone. I mean, if you look at the history of the NSX, a lot of manufacturers actually bought one to actually copy the NSX, Not many people know that Gordon Murray had an NSX and he actually based the McLaren F1 on an NSX. I mean, you can feel free to Google it now, it comes up straight away. It's not a well-known fact, but it's also a massive fact when you actually read the facts.
Oh yeah, and that's that's one of the key major things of the NSX was it's a car that it's so usable. I mean, as you mentioned earlier, the cockpit's around and a fighter jet.
Yeah. So basically, they base the cockpit on an F-16 fighter jet. So the idea is to give you 360 degrees of view. So it's really easy to see out of parking. Even when you're on a racetrack, it's just not. Even the pillars here aren't massive. It's not obstructive. So
which is the Achilles heel of mid-engine, sports cars.
Yeah, definitely.
Supercars is the visibility. It's always quite poor. You're sitting in the car, but I'm also sort of seeing over where the front fenders are, basically.
That's great. Yeah. So I like that you can see the sort of humps on the corners. So
yeah, and that helps with navigating around. So yeah, it's one of those ones. But you know what? The steering's obviously electric powerly assisted, isn't it?
Yeah. So they wanted to make this sort of an everyday usable supercar. I mean, you'll probably get people commenting saying it's not a supercar. Well, it depends. You can say define supercar. It was. I mean, the design of it is very old. I mean, the top speed is 170 miles an hour, so I guess that's one of the facts that Japan actually said, oh, we'll class it as a supercar. It's the steering is very light, I will admit. That's one thing about the NSX that I would change, but when they made the NSXR, there's no power steering at all. It is literally just just all analog. There's no driver's aids on the NSXR at all, actually.
No, there isn't at all. I mean,
the trim just fell off there. So that's the second thing that's gone wrong.
Yeah,
but I'll just click that back in later. So
for 170,000 miles, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got 3.2 V6 VTEC.
I mean, it revs to 8.5.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing in VTEC. The noise is just absolutely lovely. But you don't really hear much on the outside. It's all on the inside. The engine's right behind us, and it just sort of protrudes through the cabin.
Yeah.
The thing about this car is it's just so usable because it's not hard work. The clutch isn't heavy. the gear change, I still say, is one of the best gear changes I've ever felt. It is literally just like a rifle, you know, it just slots into the gear. There's no play in it either.
Yeah, Honda, that's one of the shining things is, you know, normally over time, you know, selectors go, synchros go, it's quite hard to find which gear goes in which. This though, it's quite nice, it's quite telepathic. Yeah, I mean, I always sort of rev match it on the downshift, and I think that sort of benefits why the clutch has lasted so long. It saves the gearbox, there's no crunching in the gearbox at all. Commonly, actually, second gear normally crunches in all Hondas, but this one's absolutely fine still. Yeah, exactly, and it just feels like that, you know. I mean, in terms of, I mean, Hondas are really good with, you know, manual gearboxes. I drove an FK8 Civic Type R, and it's just rifle bolt, the whole, you know, selectors and everything. It is quite telepathic.
Yeah.
And with the age now, I mean, as you drop down the gear, that V6 down does sound great.
Yeah.
Smooth.
I mean, the problem is people look at brake horsepower figures, which, you know, on paper it doesn't look impressive, but what they fail to realise is the actual weight of the car. It's really light, you know, being aluminium, and that obviously benefits it.
Yeah, exactly. And because it's so light, it does feel genuinely quick. I mean, obviously we're spoiled with turbocharged cars, obviously, but you do get a nice response of power.
Yeah, you can't beat the V6 noise.
Yeah, you can't. And the induction noises.
Yeah, that's the thing, it's not really exhaust noise, it's all induction noise, and they really focused on, it's all about the driver when they made this car, so everything is sort of angled to the driver. They didn't want to sort of impress people looking at the car from the outside, listening for a noise. It was all based on what the driver thought about the vehicle. The noise is lovely.
The noise is just, it's something else. It's proper.
Yeah.
Very few modern cars, I mean, I suppose 991 GT3 gives you that proper induction sound at certain revs, but yeah, this is, oh man, it's like 170,000 miles. It feels. Okay, so it got dark outside, and I'm going to finish it off here in Minutia Detailing Studio. So, to summarise the Honda NSX, well, like I said before, as I've mentioned so many times on and off camera, it's most likely, possibly, in fact definitely the most underrated sports car slash supercar around. In fact, let's call it a supercar, because at the time it was actually quick, and it still is quick now. In fact, this car would keep up with the likes of a BMW M2 competition all day long, and this example with 170,000 miles is just, well, it's amazing. Seriously, a Porsche product, or, you know, a lot of people love to go on about German engineering, cars that are, you know, that are overly built. But let's be honest, German cars haven't been that well built since, you know, 90s or late 80s Mercedes. And the Japanese just know how to make a solid and reliable car. And Hondas have always been solid and reliable. And Mike, well, thank you very much, Mike. I know he's just popped out to get a cheeky Nando's or something. I don't know what he's doing, but thank you so much, Mike, because this car is phenomenal. I did rag it a little bit, didn't I? I possibly ragged it a bit too much. Some of you guys in the comments are going to go, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be ragging an NSX like that with 170,000 miles. But you know what? You guys, because seriously, it drives really well. You would not tell it was 170,000 miles. It feels like 50. It doesn't even feel like 50,000 miles. Another thing to know, especially about cars, is a lot of people think once you go past 100,000 miles, that is it. It's shagged. You can't use it anymore. That's not the case. Mike has literally meticulously looked after it. He's also driven it properly and enthusiastically as it should. So at 170,000 miles, it's gonna go on forever. It literally is. As long as you look after it, as long as you regularly maintain it, it will just keep going on. But the Honda NSX, there's just something quite so special about this. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed that video. Like and subscribe. See you later.